This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. What I'm looking at today is Fear Street 1994 Part 1, which is a Netflix movie. And it's pretty good. And I don't mean to insult when I say it's essentially a Scooby-Doo episode in real life. In fact, Fear Street is more Scooby-Doo than the live-action Scooby-Doo movies are, in the sense that it revolves around 5 people, though it's not about the people. The people are peripheral to what is the core mystery that they're having to deal with. This is refreshing because while it invests in the individual characters, it's not about them. They're just, as I implied, the people who are enmeshed in a situation. The people who are working to solve a mystery. And it really works for the most part. It's well cast. All the actors are of their age, by which I mean they appear to be actually young people, which is refreshing. So that's really welcome to see, and I enjoy movies when they do that. And what I also really appreciate is that this was designed as a trilogy from the start. It's not like most movies which, if they were successful, they go, okay, let's do it again. And they kind of cobble things together. Sometimes that approach works, other times it doesn't. A lot of the time it doesn't, to be totally honest. With Fear Street, it was designed from the get-go to be a trilogy. And I really like that because, first off, you're not trying to cram so much information into one movie, which for me is irritating. I can like movies that do that, but it's something I think to be avoided. Since it is by nature a trilogy and it began life, at least in its televised form, as a trilogy, you can just kind of let things flow. Tell the story that needs to be told and not overload you with information. If you recall, this was my problem with Aquaman. Too much story in too little time. I wish studios would stop doing it. It's the most frustrating thing. So, Fear Street avoids that. And that's welcome. And it's not particularly gory. There's some interesting moments of gore, but that's not its goal. Its goal is to tell a story. And it tells that in an interesting fashion. And it is just so Scooby-Doo. Fear Street, Part 1, 1994, is fun, it's well acted, it's well told. An interesting thing about this story is inner contrast. For instance, Shadyside has a serious problem with murder and violence consistently over decades, while Sunnyvale is almost an exemplar of what a town should be. It's attractive, there are no murders in it. It's literally the polar opposite of Shadyside. So, why is that? Hopefully this is a question that the other episodes in the trilogy will answer. What's behind that contrast? It's an interesting story, and one I don't think will alienate either young people or adults. It's not a bad watch. Now personally, I wish it were a little heavier on the gore. I wish that some of the writing were a little more logical. For instance, there are 2 characters, a couple, and one of them has moved to Sunnyvale, while the other remained in Shadyside. And the one that remained in Shadyside, figuratively speaking, the wrong side of the tracks, has come to feel animus towards the other who lives in Sunnyvale. The problem is, she didn't move to Sunnyvale. Her parents did. She is a young person, a teenager, What could she do? Not go with them? It's a really silly argument to make. And that she blames her for this makes no sense and is really stupid. That being said, it's not that people aren't illogical or do stupid things. But you have to make that apparent in your narrative. You have to make it clear how literally ridiculous this notion is. And the narrative doesn't. It treats it as if she actually has a leg to stand on with this nonsense. But that's a relatively minor nitpick. On the whole, Fear Street is fun, it's well done, and I should also mention that Fear Street is really well produced. And part of the reason you could tell, besides the visual look of the film itself, it's that there are lots of music cues. Music cues that sound like the actual artist singing. I could be wrong on that, but it sounds like them to me. And when you talk about artists like Radiohead, I imagine that's really expensive to do. And it has quite a few of them. So money is obviously being spent on the series. It looks good, it's entertaining, has moments of gore, wish it had more, but still, on the whole, I would definitely recommend checking out Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.